to this episode of Fun Facts and Sad Truths.
Today's fun fact. A hippo's wide open mouth is big enough to fit a 4-foot-tall child inside.
And today's sad truth is actually marks what would have been the 20-year anniversary of that fact being discovered by Graham Pembroke. His son would have been 30 today. So welcome everybody to this episode 3 of Fun Facts and Sad Truths. Today we got the two of us.
Just the two of us.
We can make it if we try.
You got me, your host, Jake Cole, and
me, not Jake Cole. That's what it says on my driver's license.
Yeah.
I would like that if our birth certificates just gave a list of the identities we are not. Like, name, definitely not Jeremy. Definitely not Michael.
It would really help narrow it down. I feel like that would really bring, it would really expedite the, process of trying to arrest people or, find anybody online. Like, it would just, just look up not Darius, and there you go. You get everybody who's not Darius. It's pretty much applies to everyone.
Definitely streamline that process. One important update for the podcast. Needless to say, we are amassing a pretty substantial number of listeners. We're in the tens, and one of our listeners we have discovered through the app through which we upload our podcast is from Lebanon, which is where. Have you ever lived anywhere other than where we live? I don't know if we're naming that place offhand. Oh wait, yeah. I'm so stupid. You're from. Go on, if you want to.
Well,
fucking idiot.
Yes. I was in fact born in an entirely different country, but that country was not Lebanon.
It was
Lebanon. Is it a country or continent? Or
Lebanon
city?
is a country.
Country. That's what I said. Country.
Yeah.
Lebanon. It was not Lebanon, which applies to almost everywhere.
Yeah.
Similar to the not Darius.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Most countries, people like, hey, what is your nationality? And I tell them, well, I am not Lebanese, not Irish. I'm sure I'm probably... Other than those two, I'm
not really sure.
Solid,
yeah, it's a toss-up, really.
I don't know many other countries beyond Lebanon and Ireland, but
I mean, they're
Ireland.
the well, yeah, of course, because Lebanon and Ireland are the world powers, so like you don't really need to know anybody else.
Yeah,
those are like the they're like the first world country at like the top or whatever. They're like the 0th world country, like they're like above everybody else. Like,
if we were to subscribe as we do to the flat Earth theory that the globe is a lie and actually on all edges there's just expanses into icy regions that if you were to go beyond you would find new continents. They're on the ultra tier of existence beyond ours, past what the government wants you to believe is Antarctica. You would find pretty much just a bunch of Lebanons and Ireland, and they send their best people to the existing Lebanon and Ireland and our understanding of our globe. Mm-hmm. Listeners can't see I'm doing big air quotes around globe, but generally my belief is that we have the Earth is, we're flat, but we are just a flat part of what is a globe. So imagine like if you had a golf ball and you shaved one side down to be completely flat. So that would explain most of the issues about, like, sunsets, where does that come from?
Well, I mean, everybody knows that sun god Ra takes the sun down every night and throws the moon up every morning.
Exactly.
Or, I meant throws the moon up after taking the sun down.
Well, our perception of time would be different from whatever Ra's is anyways.
True.
But anyways, for our listener in Lebanon, want some tailored content for you, because we're still, a small enough podcast that we can really speak to our audience
In a very direct way.
So, Jake Hole, have you been listening to Fairuz lately? I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly.
I am 100% certain that you are not, but we'll go with it. Yes.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of what?
I said yes and.
Yes and, yeah. Huge fan. Was just listening to their album Lebanon, the biopic Folk Festival. And let me tell you, I don't think there's a better artist
to come out of Lebanon?
To come out of Ireland, even. Beyond that, just on the drive over here, was listening to Wadi El Safi, born in Niha, Lebanon. One of the only rock stars worth listening to, in my opinion.
Yeah, what's your favorite song from him? How does it go?
I can't do that justice because I am not Lebanese or Irish, and as a result, I feel like it would be insensitive for me to try and sing any of his music in any I also have not listened to it. It's more of a I don't.
Well, I mean, it's like you don't really listen to music, especially this kind of music.
You experience it. You let it be.
This music is a lifestyle.
Yeah.
It's just a way of communication with those who may not understand you fully. You show them these songs and they will get you like that. Yeah. I'm getting tearing up just thinking about all the songs. Like that one. With the about the love.
Just
and, he doesn't quite get the love. Yeah, just the two of us. That was written by a Lebanese artist.
I would like to go to Lebanon. Never been.
Yeah. See all the sights. They got at least 3 of the wonders of the world there. One of them being Lebanon itself.
Where would be a better location to store 2 other wonders of the world than within one of the other ones?
They also got the Lebanese pyramids.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We're just we learn so much about other countries in the American school system. It's hard to, bring out, all of the facts that we learn, or else, we'd be talking forever.
I'm going to be, not that, obviously everything we say here is totally genuine and we're being serious and everything. But, in here, doesn't it make you feel a little uncultured to know that somewhere there's a Lebanese person who threw on our shitty podcast and was like, you know what? I'm going to listen to this. I'm going to listen to these fucking schmucks talk about absolutely nothing.
Whoa.
And what are we doing?
We talked about Babe Ruth.
That's what...
In his monster hands.
To our listener from Lebanon.
We talked about Reggie from Nintendo, which is his God-given name.
Yeah.
From birth, his mother knew.
They did not name him. He came out with a piece of paper signed God. It's like this baby is named Reggie from Nintendo. If you're our listener in Lebanon who for some reason has stuck it out to a third episode, I would love for you to email us and let us know why you do this to yourself. Because I've never listened to a Lebanese podcast. I feel like a complete moron right now, which is not a huge shift for me, but
I mean, what language do they speak in?
Arabic, but they also recognize French.
Well, I mean, I recognize French, doesn't mean I understand it.
It's just a country of people who hear French and like, I know that. I'm aware of that. Read about that in the paper once.
Oh, it's actually similar to where I was born. They had Swahili and French, so, and yes. I think a lot of them also spoke Arabic.
I wonder what sort of thing could have happened in the past that so many countries have a recognition of the French language that might not be a seemly reason. I don't know.
Yeah.
Sure, it has nothing to do with the history of violent oppression.
Probably had to do with Napoleon Dynamite. That movie really pissed a lot of people off.
Yeah.
He was French, right?
Probably. Okay. He wore glasses.
It's basically French.
Most people, yeah. Beside that, so yeah, that's our tailored content for our single listener in Lebanon. We really do appreciate your listening to us, and thank you. For all of our other listeners from America, gotta say, you're not really pulling any weight here. Not thrilled with what you've brought to the proverbial table, and we're not... If you want to just shut this off now and not come back, not really
Unlike every other form of media in the world, this isn't going to be catered to you Americans.
Yeah.
So
why don't you... You know what? If you're one of our American listeners, I want you to turn off this podcast and throw on an album by Wadi El Safi. Open up your mind.
Get yourself cultured.
Yeah.
All right. Baseball.
So I have done the deep dive here. I'm back in a fantasy league.
Oh no.
And I found out, so this is a true story. Everything we say on here is true. These are facts and truths. But I was like getting ready to go to work, and I get a text from someone who's saying, you know, like, you better join our league. The draft is in like 3 hours. I'm like, okay. And I do it at work because, you know, it's the... If you have a job and it's like not your career, it's not something you want to do with your life, if you're working like a minimum wage job or like if you're working class, underemployed, whatever, you deserve to get paid to do anything other than that job. Take as long of a bathroom 100%. Trip as you can. Be on your phone. Just, you know, your employer is stealing your body and work. So as long as that's going on, be like, do what you want a little bit.
They're already underpaying you. You might as well let them underpay you for shit that they're not paying you for.
Exactly. So I used that for a fantasy league baseball draft, and I gotta tell you, you know, when I was in a fantasy league last time, I'm sure this is fascinating to all of our listeners, like, I sucked. Like, I absolutely, you know, I ate shit. And
that's what you had to do if you lost.
Exactly.
You should have been prepared for that.
Those were the stakes. But like, for the draft, I prepared, like, I looked at some stuff, you know, I was checking out, like, the stats and what have you, and, like, prepared, like, an idea of who I wanted. I'm a big baseball fan, but I do not, like, during the off season, read up on what's actually going on. Other than, obviously, the MLB trade rumors we talked about in episode 1. But, like, beyond that, I don't, I just watch games and, like, I'll follow news as it happens.
Yeah.
So I go in and I just had no idea what I was doing. And, like, I just drafted. I had no system. So my name is the Last Place Kings. And I'm hoping to get last place, but I think it would be exceptionally funny if I didn't for whoever does. To, like, if you lose to the team who's actually named Last Place Kings, like, you really suck.
That and the best way to get on the Last Place Kings is obviously having the number one worst baseball player of all time, Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan? No. Michael Jordan was a good baseball player.
No, he wasn't. He was terrible.
Have you seen Space Jam?
Yeah, and every time he was supposed to swing at the ball, he would put the bat down, grab the ball, and then try to shoot it into a net that wasn't there. And it's like, Michael, this is a different game. Like, you told us you wanted to play baseball.
Okay? He was revolutionizing the game the same way Bo Jackson did when he would always just straight up tackle the pitcher. You'd get up there, they'd be like, all right, Bo, don't hurt him. Just swing the ball. Be like, yeah, I promise. And then the second the pitcher let his guard down, he sprinted straight at him, and he killed a couple of people. Because, like, you know, they're not built like football players. Anyways, Michael Jordan was here genuinely. Here's my actual hot take. Michael Jordan was not actually that bad of a baseball player. He was a dude who started like a decade into his life later than every single other rookie of baseball.
True. And
he was playing in the minor leagues at like a middling level. Had he like stuck with it and actually attempted to have a baseball career, or if he had started at the normal age of like any other baseball player, he would have been just a mediocre player. The worst baseball player of all time, as you should have known already, is Babe Ruth.
Babe Ruth.
He's a fucking travesty.
He could barely even hold on to those bats.
He could barely hold on to his fucking, like,
They'd always try to snake his way out of his hands.
Yeah. Because he would try to bat with snakes. Because he was a fucking degenerate. He would bring a barrel of fucking, like, garden snakes and swing them at the baseball bat. God knows how he managed to hit the ball ever. I mean, the guy, he would walk into the stadium and he would get arrested immediately.
Well, I mean, when you're wearing like one of those surgical masks that just has like half a pound of cocaine underneath it, it's kind of hard to miss.
And the best part of it, just to give you a sense of how terrible a player and a human he wasn't even trying to take any cocaine.
Just happened.
It was just, he would grab a surgical mask, fill it with cocaine, and be like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing, guys. Hey, watch this. And they'd be like, babe, that's cocaine. And he'd be like, no, it's not. And he genuinely didn't think it was. And it would come in like, you know, like you see like a big sack of money with like a dollar sign on it. It was like that, but it would say cocaine. And you'd be like, oh, Coca-Cola. Love me a soda pop. And he killed a couple of people. Because he would try and drive a car, and he was shaped like an elk, and he would never fully grasp whether or not he was supposed to, like, feet on the wheel and hands on the pedals, or feet on the pedals, hands on the wheel. So he would kind
of... the whole time he's trying to avoid all the basemen while he's going around the bases in his car. It's just like he's there. There's no way he can focus on it properly, in a meaningful way that any real baseball player would be able to do. You know, like fucking Barry Bonds.
Bonds.
He would sit in his RAV4 on the home plate, holding his bat out the window. He'd take a mean swing, usually miss the ball, but he'd just go driving around those bases anyway. And
who's going to stop him?
Yeah, no one's going to stop him. yeah, and it just any true player would know that everything Babe Ruth did in baseball was wrong. Like you're not supposed to point up. There's no one up there.
Yeah.
There wasn't even like helicopters weren't invented at the time, so it's not like he was like
Pete Rose gets like all of this shit for gambling on his team, but Babe Ruth publicly in front of everyone's like, I'm gonna hit the ball there. You don't tell them that. You don't fucking... It's like if Michael Jordan during the middle of a game was like, hey guys, I'm gonna try and shoot the ball now. They'd be like, oh, then I'm gonna get in front of you and stop you, okay? And no, people don't like realize this because baseball has changed so much since the days of Babe Ruth. But like he did that every single time.
Yeah. It's just the one game that he's famous for it got recorded because cameras were invented shortly before that.
And they invented it to try and have like some sort of security measure against Babe Ruth constantly cheating and telling people where he was going to hit the ball. That's how they invented the moving picture. It's really something. If you can say anything about Babe Ruth, you can say at least without him, we would have never had like Independence Day 2, the movie.
Electric Boogaloo. That's the name. Independence Day 2, the movie Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah.
Very cumbersome name.
Not to be mistaken with the sequel to Independence Day. It was not a sequel. It was just a movie released in 1987 called Independence Day 2 Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah.
It was about the Founding Fathers.
Yeah. And that actually is what inspired Will Smith to become an actor.
Yeah. And it was only a coincidence, and he didn't even realize till way later that he was in a movie called Independence Day, the connection, the coincidence. And he was like, oh yeah, I always thought the movie was called ID4. Now, let me explain something to our Lebanese listener. If you're not familiar, Independence Day in our country, the United States of America, falls on July 4th. As a result, for the film Independence Day, a film starring Bill Pullman and Will Smith and Jeff Goldblum about aliens attacking, it was released on the 4th of July, Independence Day. And as a result, for reasons I'm still not entirely clear about, they, during some promotional materials, refer to the film as ID4, Independence Day 4. Even though it was the first movie, it was just saying, because it's the 4th of July. So the joke here...
Because the American school system is so bad that we don't even know when our own Independence Day is.
Yeah. And it's sort of like Roman numerals, but for people who don't know how to count, where it's like ID4 means July 4th because ID is Independence Day and 4 is the number 4. And that's what we do with all of our holidays.
Yeah.
I'm not going to expand on that further to explain what I mean.
X25, my favorite... my favorite holiday of all time.
Yeah. Arbor Day, right?
That's the day Ann Arbor, Michigan was discovered, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
We brought it over. It was just floating out in the ocean. They discovered it.
Well, it was one of...
It was
one of
already
those trash heaps. And they were like, well, most of Michigan already looks like this.
Yeah.
So, instead of just letting those float in the ocean...
We should put it over in that random empty spot where there's just a perpetual void of darkness. Finally plug up that hole. You know what, really, I don't think... As long as we've made multiple references to the American school system.
Oh, no.
As long as we're doing that, I want to mention, this is a thing we don't talk about, but one of our presidents tried to, prove the earth was hollow and there were mole men inside. John Quincy Adams.
Is that true?
That's true. And that, I feel like for all of the, like, we learned, I don't know how, we went to different schools. All of the focus we had on everything that led up to World War One. I know so much about the conspiracy of the Black Hand murder and Archduke Franz Ferdinand, which will never really help me. All I needed to know was that there was a bunch of stuff going on, and then the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand was the boiling point. Things went, all of a sudden we have a war. Like, that's really the gist of it. We spent how long talking about, like, well, also this was going on. Here's why they were mad at Archduke Franz Ferdinand. Like, all of that. Never did they mention, hey, did you know one of your presidents got a bunch of people to just start digging to prove there were mole men? I would have liked to know that. Because, we have, I don't know, for our listener in Lebanon, if you're aware of our current political situation in America. But we've got a president right now that some people think
not my president.
My president has been and will be Jimmy Carter ad infinitum until we get someone who I think is worthwhile. But as far as I'm concerned, Jimmy Carter has never stopped being president. And
he is the one and only president.
Yeah. Every president before him, Jimmy Carter. President after him, Jimmy Carter. Because, there's never been a president as capable of inspiring the American people as Jimmy Carter.
Oh yeah, he was a great spokesperson for the everyday man.
Mm-hmm.
He was great at negotiating things.
Yeah.
Over the phone mostly. And other things.
Hiding out in a building while people were mad at him. He once got chased off a boat by a rabbit.
Nice.
Yeah. Which is up there in the catalogs of my favorite presidential events as the time George Herbert Walker Bush, as you know, my hero, vomited on the Prime Minister of Japan.
Prime Minister.
And, we have all that. We have,
I still think the most embarrassing moment of any president that we have ever had was when Barack Hussein Obama wore a bike helmet while riding a bicycle.
Yeah, it just shows weakness.
Weakness. We got Vladimir Putin on the Ritz over there.
Vlad the Imputin.
Vlad the Putin. You get him over there riding a mythical beast, which looks a lot like a rented donkey that has airplane wings surgically stapled to its side.
Vladimir Putin would put on...
Oh, sorry, that was Tim Allen. He's got a
special guest.
we got him hiding in the other room.
Vladimir Putin would wear pretty much what you could call the opposite of a helmet. He had this little contraption. It's like a backpack with a little mechanism that winds back and then bonks you on the back of the head with a hammer, constantly.
That's what makes him such a great leader.
That's why his head's shaped like that. And we got Obama riding around on a bicycle with a helmet on. George Herbert Walker Bush, during all of his years of bike stunts, never wore a helmet in his life. And look,
there's a picture that looks like he's wearing a helmet, but that's just his hair.
Yeah. His hair was matted and dirty.
He was the president known for the wackiest hairstyles.
Mm-hmm.
Probably brought on by the cocaine in his college days.
Mm-hmm.
But that's enough about stupid shit. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we never talk about dumb stuff on this podcast. Let's get to the serious stuff. I got a thing I want to talk about with sports. If you don't have anything,
Yeah, go ahead.
all right.
Let's do it.
I gotta put in a little musical cue for this. I don't know what it's gonna be. We're here. Yeah.
You can just put that.
Here's my problem. A little segment where I say what my problem is. My problem is.
What's your problem?
My problem is the lack of lizard representation in sports. Now, I want you to tell me, look at all the mascots we have. Look at all of them. We've got so many different mascots in sports.
Mm-hmm.
Very few lizards. We've got the raptors, but not a lizard, really.
No.
It's a dinosaur, which is like a bird, probably. You have the dragons sometimes. Fake. I'm not counting that at all. How many regular-ass lizards are there in sports?
Well, I remember, this was a while ago when the team started, but I remember the Jazz, actually, their mascot was going to be a jazz-playing lizard. It looked a lot like it looked a lot like the Geico lizard, but with like comically large sunglasses, and a giant saxophone that was made to look like Bill Clinton. And this was before Bill Clinton was even alive, I believe.
This was back in the 1870s.
Yeah.
The Utah Jazz has existed for a long time before basketball did.
Yeah.
They later decided to
and before jazz.
Yeah.
And Utah.
They predate jazz and basketball.
Yeah, they were.
And the name of that lizard was supposed to be Brock Smooth.
but they ended up scrapping that mascot.
Yeah.
And I think the reason was they realized there are no lizards in sports.
They didn't want to be the weird guys who were like, yeah. They've even got the Diamondbacks. They've got snakes. No lizards.
I thought Diamondbacks were gorillas. Silverback. I actually thought that.
You know, the cobalt back gorillas, the steel back gorillas, the gold back gorillas.
Those are all mascots. But not a single
Those
lizard.
are the minor league teams for the Diamondbacks. Actually, no, but not a lot of people know that. The Diamondback snake is closer genetically to the silverback gorilla than it is to the python.
Because they both have backs. That are made of a metal.
Yeah.
Or a mineral, excuse me.
They're like
diamond
fucked
isn't
up
metal.
Pokemon.
So like Pokemon.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. You know, my issue with Pokemon is they're too normal. Mr. Mime could use a little bit more weirdness. That's just a bit too normal for me. Imagine keeping a Mr. Mime as a slave in your backpack. How could you not want to reevaluate your life if you were just carrying around Mr. Mime? And then people are like, hey, I've got this little cute dog that I want to fight you. And it's like, hey, here's this freakish mime man. He's going to hypnotize your dog and, suplex it.
Well,
go on.
Everyone knows that Mr. Mime is the genetic deformity of a human making love to a Pokemon.
He's like what a mule is.
Yes.
Horse, donkey creates a mule.
Yeah.
Human and Pokemon makes a Mr.
It's
Mime.
specifically an Abra. which is why they're so rare, because Abras teleport away from you every time you're about to put your dick inside.
Not because they're completely comfortable with Pokemon. You know, they're in the original.
They're made to be there for humans.
Yeah,
in any way possible.
And they're all like sapient, consenting, mature creatures, as was in the original Pokemon written by Herman Melville. That was later adapted into an anime. They were just mostly walking, talking animals that were like mythical creatures, kind of like Greek mythology. He was trying to create his own version of Greek mythology. And then he came up with the idea of like, you know, what would happen if a human had... What was Abra? Is that the fucking like hypnotist one?
Yeah, the one that becomes the one with the spoons.
Yeah. What if a human fucked this weird thing? He was like, that's probably where mimes come from. Herman Melville lived in a cave for most of his adult life, and most people have come to agree that he was functionally illiterate until he was like 40, and his understanding of the world came from his pretending to know how to read the newspaper whenever he was questioned about, like, oh, what are you reading there, Herman? And he'd be like, oh, I was just reading this news about mimes.
You have a very aggressive voice, I see.
Yeah, Herman Melville was known for his aggressive, blunt nature. He once physically dominated Ernest Hemingway in a boxing match by... He did not quite understand boxing, and he just went up and strangled him. Which is where he got the idea for Pokemon, because as he did so, Ernest Hemingway, sort of like speaking in tongues, just started listing off the name of the first 130 whatever Pokemon.
150.
150, okay. Thank you.
151 right now. That's, I mean, you know, all great things come from a place that you wouldn't expect.
And who would expect anything great to come from Herman Melville or Ernest Hemingway? Our listeners may be thinking, oh, he's being sarcastic and being like, making a joke about these great famous authors. Actually, like, obviously great things came from them. Nope, that was genuine. Fuck Herman Melville and fuck Ernest Hemingway.
Yep.
100%. Totally. Farewell to Arms, I had to read, and I gotta tell you, made me pretty angry. Had to read that, and then I read Old Man and the Sea. Wasn't thrilled with that experience.
Well, I mean, if you have the time to, like, say goodbye to your arms, like, you figured you'd have the time to kind of convince them to stay. Like, how are you going to go to the bathroom without arms?
Never thought of that.
Can't hold your penis with your feet? Well, maybe you can.
You know who could? Babe Ruth.
And it's because he had extra
ankle.
little feet growing out of his thighs directly next to his penis. That's the only way he knew he had a penis, is by feeling it with these thigh feet. Because he couldn't see him. His penises, he had multiple.
You know, people often mistakenly reported that Babe Ruth had a 12-inch penis. He had 12 penises. It was a misnomer.
All 1 inch.
All 1 inch. And it was sort of like if a child tried to draw a cow but didn't quite understand how cows worked. That's pretty much what Babe Ruth looked like, but if you put like weird deformed balloon hands on every hoof. The only reason people attribute him as one of the best baseball players is because he did invent the sport. But he only invented it on accident. He was trying to learn how to play soccer.
Yeah. But then he got real upset. Because he was so fat that he couldn't like swing his legs. Like they always just remained underneath him, and he like waddled, like leaning side to side. He never actually moved his legs once in his entire life. He mostly just used them to pivot.
Yep.
So that made it very difficult.
If it wasn't a windy day, Babe Ruth couldn't move anywhere.
Mm.
It was he was born with one muscle, just took over most of his body. He was like a tongue, like a large tongue that had like legs. This is our third episode, and it's our second episode devoted.
Talking about Babe Ruth.
Shit talking Babe Ruth's disturbing Lovecraftian body. This is the content that's gonna make us popular.
Thank you, Lebanese person, for listening to us make each other laugh.
Yeah.
It's the only way that we can really like ourselves in a meaningful way.
I really weigh my value as a human based on how many Lebanese people listen to me talk. So I'm way worse than everyone in Lebanon, but I'm doing better than the majority of American people.
Yeah. And like, in life I'm not racist, so I just assume most people aren't Lebanese. So I don't know if in real life I have met with any Lebanese people who have listened to me. But now I know for sure that there is at least one, or 4% of our 30 listeners. Whatever that is.
Yeah, I'm not trying to do math.
Yeah, well, a lot of people aren't, and that's why this country's going to shit.
Yeah, you know what we need more of? STEM people. Like Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg. If only we had more people like that in our society.
Now, by STEM people, you mean that they were created with stem cells?
Oh no, they came. They're like from like a stem that fell off of a plant. They were like part of a flower.
Oh.
But like one of those flowers that like when it opens up, the stench is unbearable. And then like Elon Musk came out with his weird.
That's how he got his name.
Yeah, he smelled just musky, and that's how Mark Zuckerberg got his name, because he smelled like Zuckerberg.
Well, he wanted people to fear him, so he actually changed his name to Zuckerberg from Klenskowski, because he figured Zuckerberg would be a more dominant sounding.
It's very intimidating.
Yeah, very intimidating. Well, I mean, what killed the Titanic, if that's the way you want to put it, it was a Zuckerberg. Yeah. Zuckerberg made of ice.
Yeah.
Yeah, people call them icebergs. They're actually called Zuckerbergs.
Yeah, because it comes from German Zucker, sugar.
Yeah.
And in ancient times, like 1970s.
Mm-hmm.
That's Titanic was 70. Yeah, Titanic was the 1970s. People thought ice was just like sugar, and they would try to eat it, and they'd always be like, "That's some cold Zucker." And
well, I would say because like you can have like other types of bergs.
Like hamburger.
Like well, there's an iceberg, and then like a hamburg would be like if there was a bunch of pigs floating on the water. That would be a hamburg, and then a hamburger is if one who goes and takes meat from one of those, from a hamburg.
Yeah,
that's where they got the names from.
Yeah,
and the first one to do it was actually that little fat kid who holds up the burgers for that one restaurant, the German kid or something. Or is that donuts? It's one of those things. Burgers are basically donuts for those of you in Lebanon who don't know American culture.
You're thinking of Colonel Sanders.
I thought it was Colonial Sanders.
Oh yeah, Colonial Sanders. But for real, let's just for a moment make a brief aside to acknowledge how fucked up a word kernel is. Like, English is one of the worst languages.
Is it linguistics podcast now? Is that what we're doing?
Yeah, that's what we're doing now.
We're going into linguistics.
Yeah. We're going to alienate all of our listeners because there's such a large audience of Lebanese people who want to hear about how deformed Babe Ruth is. Now they're talking about linguistics? That's a bit weird to me. Let's talk about Brexit instead.
Well, everybody knows Lebanon was all for Brexit.
Yeah, they were the only other country included in the vote because they're just part of every election. They're like, well, we gotta have Lebanon's opinion on this before we make any decisions. Lebanon voted for Hillary.
Okay, alright, let's not go there.
Get into politics now. The hotbed issue of whether or not Lebanon supported Hillary Clinton in the 2016 election.
Because that was it's just last year.
Yeah, it feels like it was 3 years ago now, but it was actually just last year. You wouldn't even do a commercial break this time.
This episode's brought to you by fuck all. Who gives a shit? If you're still here at this point, you obviously don't care about the content of which we are pouring out.
If you're listening to the third episode of this podcast, that means you are not concerned with the quality of what you do in your life.
You have no concern for consistency.
You have no concern for any amount of organization.
Yeah.
Yeah.
or any kind of general good flow of words and great construction of sentences. I think that's what I bring to the table, at least.
Positive. So,
just silence for 5 minutes.
Segue into something a little special. Pop culture. What do you want to talk about? Pop culture.
More like poop culture. Sorry, that was bad. Cool thing that is happening is they're actually going to release the game Cuphead for the Nintendo Switch, which I know I'm excited for, because I am still a 12-year-old boy and have a Nintendo Switch. So that looks like a fun game. I heard it was very hard.
It's pronounced Cuphead. Like phosphorus?
Oh, fuck.
Cafeed.
Cuphead?
Cuffed.
Cuffed.
It's about shirt sleeves. This was such a funny bit on my end. I'm really glad I contributed that to... Go on, please.
You're fine, dude. I didn't really have anything funny about it. I'm actually honestly very genuinely excited for the release of Cuphead on Nintendo Switch. There was no joke.
For the sake of variety in the podcast, then, I'm gonna take the counterpoint. I'm furious. Cuphead was generally what I would say is everything wrong with modern gaming. An all-around focus on aesthetics over gameplay, focus on individual experiences rather than online culture, and building some sort of an actual statement on our current climate. Because, frankly, if you're making a video game in this day and age and it isn't explicitly about whether or not Jill Stein would have won the 2016 election if we were more concerned about global warming, like the Call of Duty games, then... Oh, but I have to... Call of Duty did a Kevin Spacey game. They're canceled. Call of Duty is canceled.
What?
Remember? Call of Duty did that Kevin Spacey game. Are you not aware of that fact?
I was not aware of that fact.
They did a game that just starred Kevin Spacey as like himself, but like it was like a computer. It was Kevin Spacey in a video game, looking like Kevin Spacey, voicing Kevin Spacey, but he was like a character or whatever. You did not know they did that?
This is legitimate?
This is legitimate.
This isn't us fucking around. Like,
for all of the people at home who are, obviously listening to this, I want to give, like, a good context on this. I don't play video games. I don't understand video games. I own a Game Boy and a Nintendo DS that I have played 0 times in the last 2 years. The most advanced gaming I do is I play Melee sometimes on the GameCube. I was aware of this. He, who is an actual gamer, was not.
More or less.
More or less.
I'm not a gamer in the sense where I'm good at video games. I just play them.
Yeah.
I'm more for the single player experience. I don't enjoy games that are hard. That's pretty much the stipulation for me. If it's easy, I'll probably like it. It'll make me feel good about myself. But they did a Kevin Spacey game. Was it...
Yeah, Advanced Warfare.
That's...
There he is. That's him in a Call of Duty
Advanced Warfare is what fucked up Call of Duty? Really? That was a while ago.
Yeah. No, well, that was before anything came out about him, but Call of Duty has not yet made a game about, distancing themselves from Kevin Spacey. And
I think that would be a great way to start a game, is the very first scene or whatever that you get is you play the person who has to execute Kevin Spacey.
Call of Duty, your silence is deafening.
I mean, if you're deaf, you only hear silence. I guess that makes sense. I never got that, though.
I don't understand most of what I say.
Same.
Yeah. So, we talked about the Academy Awards last episode. For those of you who aren't aware...
And the Oscars.
Oh, those
My
two.
neighbors.
Yeah. For those of you who didn't know, a certain little movie came out that was part of all of that, called Bohemian Rhapsody, so named after the famous Van Halen song, the cover by Queen being the more famous version. The film was criticized by many for being of generally subpar quality and for being sort of an inaccurate representation of Freddie Mercury's life.
We got the same editors from that movie doing our show, so why don't you calm your shit down and stop talking shit about them? they got best editing, all right?
Yeah.
That's why we hired them.
Exactly. Can you not tell from how, like, the last episode where we were making callback jokes to jokes that later occurred in the episode?
Yeah.
Yeah, because we're good at editing.
It's the M. Night Shyamalan. He's also one of our editors.
Yeah. He's fallen on hard times.
Yeah. Mostly because we put all those magazines in front of him and he tripped.
Anyways.
Is that a magazine? Like a newspaper?
Hard Times is a magazine, right?
I know, it's like, I've seen it like the Hard Times .net.
Oh, it's a joke thing.
They try to be the Onion.
If it wasn't for them, that would have been a good name for, like, if you wanted to go back to the 70s and try and compete with, like, Playboy and whatever other porn magazines. The Hard Times would be a good name for a porn mag. Anyways, they're trying to make a movie similar to Bohemian Rhapsody
Mm-hmm.
about David Carradine, and I say similar in that people were upset with how Bohemian Rhapsody sort of downplayed Freddie Mercury's bisexuality, kind of provided a clean, sterile version, an accessible, boring version of the story of his life and Queen, because it was just kind of a mediocre, accessible mainstream Hollywood film that was, etc. Similarly, people are upset with David Carradine's movie sort of providing a less accurate representation of his own life. One of the issues people had with Bohemian Rhapsody, for those of you who didn't watch it, didn't know this, a major plot point idea. I have actually not seen the movie, but it's that at Live Aid, one of Queen's most famous real-life concert performances, in the movie, Freddie Mercury is playing, and it's dramatic because he had already known that he had been diagnosed with AIDS and everything, and it's like this, oh, look, he's playing under those pretenses. That's not true. He didn't know till years later. Similarly, David Carradine's movie is going to have it frequently refer to the fact that he knows he's going to die of autoerotic asphyxiation throughout his life. And his estate is upset because they're like, that the film, according to them, after seeing some preliminary cuts of it, focuses almost entirely on his career through the lens of the fact that he was into autoerotic asphyxiation, with very few references to his acting career. And those references to his acting career are framed through a man struggling with his addiction to autoerotic asphyxiation. It's called Chokehold, the David Carradine story. And despite controversy, it will be coming out in 2 weeks, competing with the new Avengers Endgame movie. It's Warner Brothers' attempt at combating and trying to win out the box office for that week with the much desired story of David Carradine choking himself while jacking off.
I remember seeing one of the first commercials for the David Carradine movie, and they were. Oh yeah, it's just at the very end of it, they had a beautiful tagline. It's just like, he won't know whether he's coming or going this summer. Chokehold.
The movie that will take your breath away.
It's supposed to come out in one of those like those 4D movie experiences that they have at like Disney World and shit. Every person is going to get their very own studded belt to wrap around their neck. And on the back of each chair is a doorknob in which to tie the other end of the belt to. And every time he performs autoerotic asphyxiation, which is about 90% of the movie from...
It's pretty much a hardcore porn film.
Yeah. Every time he does it, you have to do it too. And if you make it all the way through the movie, congratulations.
Why do I feel like that joke was a bit too dark while making a joke about the death of Dave? Like, what high horse am I on to feel like, that seems a bit grim? By the way, here's my joke about David Carradine's tragic death.
Well, also, like, it's not like he died yesterday, right? It's been a while.
Too soon.
It's been quite a minute. Now, if we were making...
I thought, for like music for the trailer, I feel like Take My Breath Away by Berlin would have been a good choice, but they went with Need You Tonight by NXS instead. For our Lebanese listener, the joke there is the lead singer of NXS also died of autoerotic asphyxiation.
pumping out the good content.
Yeah. Relatable, comical content about the tragic deaths of people who accomplished much more in their lives than I ever will. Though, frankly, David Carradine's career is not. Kung Fu is cool.
Did David Carradine have a podcast?
Valid. I don't think he did.
No.
He did have several terrible B movies in the 80s where he was blatantly drunk the entire time.
B movie was amazing. First of all.
Yeah, it was.
Second of all.
Kind of shocked that with the two of us, it took us 3 episodes to discuss B movie in any. I don't think we mentioned it until now.
We talked about it. Well, we did the bonus thing you didn't put up yet. Yeah.
Did we talk about B movie?
I think we did briefly.
Oh yeah, you're right.
We were talking about Space Jam and shit.
Yeah, I feel like it's inevitably going to also come up.
B movie.
Starring Jerry Seinfeld.
As George Costanza. I mean, as I was just saying the word B movie, didn't really have anything anywhere to go with it. It's just we could talk about it.
Allow the audience to just kind of like let that one sink in. Think about that, huh? B movie.
Okay. So, since we're talking about movies and stuff, I made a good observation to prove to anyone that every single Shrek movie was of good quality. It was a very good quality movie. Whether or not the movie itself was great, the fourth one, ziffy, the first 3, alright, fine. But okay. the reason that I realize that they're good movies is because I recently binged all the open season movies. Remember those movies about the bear and the deer?
Wait, there's more than one?
There's more than one.
Jesus.
The very first one stars Martin Lawrence and Ashton Kutcher as the voices of the bear and the deer, respectively.
I remember one of the...
Okay, the second movie features Joel McHale and Mike Epps as the deer and bear, respectively. The third movie has Who the Fuck Knows playing either of them. And the fourth movie, same thing. But it's a different Who the Fuck Knows. So there's 4 movies, and the 2 main characters are voiced by a new person every time. Shrek, 4 movies, 3 main characters, same voices.
I'm gonna push back a little bit here. That is sort of a daring approach, and I do... Okay, so I'm looking up... Yeah, there's no one. I don't know who... Okay, so the issue is, I don't fucking remember the name of the characters from Open Season 3. Common Sense Media gives it a 3 out of 5. So show us what you know. Did this get a theatrical release?
I don't believe so, no. I believe maybe... the second one got a theatrical release, but the third one didn't, and the fourth one is supposed to be like a Halloween one. It's like spooky. Something.
No.
Oh no! What?
Open Season 3 is a 2010 American computer animated buddy comedy film produced by Sony Pictures Animation, with animation provided by Real FX Creative Studios. It is the 3rd installment in the Open Season film series, following Open Season 2006 and Open Season 2 2008. Directed by Cody Cameron, the film theatrically premiered in Russia on October 21st, 2010, and was released as direct-to-video in the United States and Canada. Russia can't get enough of these open season movies. No joke, I wonder if it's because of the bear.
I was about to make a joke about that. The only reason it didn't do that well is because the bear wasn't on a unicycle.
Many of the previous actors reprised their roles, with the exception of Mike Epps and Joel McHale, who were themselves because of other people, not from reprising their roles.
Well, that's from the second movie.
Yeah, so it's like...
They weren't in the third movie, though. Yeah, it was somebody else completely.
I just like the wording, because that's what you were talking about. Dana Snyder was in it. I know that name. Dana Snyder. Oh, Master Shake from Aqua Teen.
Oh.
Huh. is this? Reception. Yeah, it's top. I don't want to know what America thought of this movie. They're not the audience, obviously.
I want to know who Russia thought.
What the fuck? No, hold on. Wait a minute.
Oh no.
Like the second film and the fourth film, Open Season 3 was released theatrically in different countries. So obviously in America and Canada, we only got a DVD release because nobody fucking cared about these movies.
Yeah.
Here's the movies it was released theatrically. Russia, Kazakhstan, Mexico, Turkey, United Arab Emirates, Greece, Colombia, and Jake, Lebanon.
Lebanon! I knew you were gonna say Lebanon. Oh, so Lebanese listener, Lebanizer.
Lebanese or Scrooge?
Please email us if you happen to see the theatrical release of which one? The third movie?
Open Season 3.
Open Season 3. Cause that would be gold.
How?
Do we have the
Can we
our
just...
email on the website?
What's up?
Do we have the email on our Facebook?
I don't know if we have an email. What is our email?
Dude, it's
it's
fountainmediabb@gmail.com.
So, Fountain Media, BB, as in boy, at gmail.com. So, just email us and let us know if you happened to attend the theatrical release of... If you saw Open Season 3 in theaters, please email us and let us know that.
And maybe we'll figure out something with Discord or Skype and have a small interview with you.
Honestly.
If you speak English well. I guess if you understand us, you must speak it fine.
Now, I gotta assume that... I'm gonna go out on a limb and say it's very possible that you did not. On account of... I feel like many people in Lebanon didn't. Because for Open Season 4, they were done. They did not get the theatrical release.
Oh,
so my guess is that they didn't turn out for the third movie enough. That they cut that. But instead, Slovakia did get a theatrical release of the fourth one, where they didn't get the third one.
Well, I think just based on our contents, we'll get the one person who happened to actually go to the movie when it came out.
Based on what we do with our lives, we would attract
based on the types of people.
one Lebanese person to go see Open Season 3 in theater.
Did they... Do you think the Medea movies released in other countries?
Definitely in other countries. I don't know if Lebanon is ready for Medea.
We don't have to keep this part in.
They're a very cultured country with a rich history, and that's not sarcasm. I actually did do a little bit of research into Lebanon. So let me see. Reception. I assume Wikipedia is not going to know to put on the reception tab for the character Medea what the country of Lebanon generally thinks of the character. But for some reason, my warped brain was like, "Why don't you check? maybe it'll tell you." Medea is well received in the United States and Canada and many other countries in Europe and Asia, but Lebanon hates it.
Yes. In the Wikipedia?
Nah, that was just me.
Okay.
I'm not getting much information about... I feel like if a movie gets released with enough popularity, Wikipedia doesn't feel the need to tell me that it was released in Lebanon, because it's not quite as interesting. I'm currently Googling the phrase Open Season 3 Lebanon, and I hope I'm getting put on the most fun FBI watch list for this one.
You should watch the Arabic version of Open Season.
Open Season 3 at Beirut.com. this a review, or are they just letting me know that the movie exists? What the fuck is this? Beirut.com just has a page for Open Season 3. Oh, it's theaters and playtimes.
Is it still playing?
I was about to say, how great would it be? The reason Lebanon hasn't gotten the theatrical release of Open Season 4 is they're not done watching Open Season 3. It's been nearly a decade and it's still on its first theatrical run. You know, I think are we done?
Today's guest is a gaggle of mute monks who don't have any physical way to make noise, so here they are. Thank you for coming. Bye.
Well, we gotta ask them a question first. Have you seen Open Season 3? Get it? Do you get the joke?
That was a little aggressive. You don't need to yell at our listener like that. The one guy has listened to it 38 times, and the one guy from Lebanon has listened to it once.
Yeah.
Who properly heard it.
Our Lebanese listener only turns off his copy of Open Season 3 to listen to our podcast. And I had the gall to shout at him.
Ugh.
Or them, I don't know.
Thank you
exclusively to our Lebanese listener. Everyone else, fuck off.
If you managed to make it through to this point, if this point is even going to be in the end cut, I don't know. But
no, this is.
Okay.
I don't even think I'm going to fucking edit this episode.
Please edit a little bit. There's a lot of large swaths of silence that I'm not super comfortable with.
Just include little musical interludes during our silent pauses.
This is no reason. Yeah, thank you for joining us for this clusterfuck of an episode. If you made it this far, you should probably find a job or something.
Unless you're our Lebanese listener, in which case...
Please keep listening.
If you want a job, contact us. You can be our fourth host.
All right.
Good night, everybody.